Well, one of the main messages from Ramaphosa, speaking to mourners at the memorial service for Dr. Janwala today, was how she fought for proper gender representation in the ANC. She wouldn't let men stop women from assuming leadership positions, as he put it. She may have lost the battle for a 30% quota in the early 1990s, but women won the war. In the meantime, our parliament has changed, our cabinet has changed. Our businesses have not necessarily changed, particularly our corporates, when it comes to transformation. Look at the finance sector, which has become so important and so influential in our economy. It seems to be left behind. Charmaine Houvet is the chair of the Leadership Committee of the International Women's Forum of South Africa. Charmaine, good afternoon to you. It's so interesting and so important to see how some sectors of our society are now properly diverse, but some are not. What's happening in our financial sector? Is it still dominated by white men? I'm afraid to say it looks like it.
So, Stephen, very interesting is something that we at International Women's Forum of South Africa have actually had the opportunity and even the privilege of getting involved with, is to partner with FACET. So FACET is actually the sector education and training authority for financial and accounting management and consulting. And this is one of the areas that we do believe as International Women's Forum, who is the voice for women in South Africa, to actually ensure that we move forward these conversations, not just in the financial sector, but various other sectors as well. But we've actually had the opportunity to actually lead in terms of addressing this sort of, diversity gap in the financial sector. And this is an exciting program that I'm actually quite excited to share with you this afternoon.
I mean, is the finance sector behind other sectors? I mean, is there some kind of old boys network or some kind of, dare I say, old schools network that's playing a role here?
So, if I look at other sectors, I am particularly from the technology sector. I would actually believe that in terms of certain areas, the financial sector actually surpasses us as the technology sector, especially in terms of more diversity and support when it comes from black women and various associations and organizations like African Women's Chartered Accountants Association. We've got the FACET sector industry body. We've got APSIP, ABASA, and various other entities, SAICA, which are really leaning in to start to drive and own and represent the financial sector quite boldly, if I may say so. And again, Stephen, we know that where we do bump across issues of, lack of diversity and inclusion, there's no one person who's going to catapult us or be the catalyst to actually inform that sort of change or lead that change. It has to be a community or an ecosystem of different players that have to come in. So again, from my perspective, I do believe that industry bodies, associations, organizations, we are all responsible for actually ensuring that we start to address these gaps that ultimately do affect the economy at large.
Is there still resistance to change? Is that still part of the problem? Or are people just, appointing their mate to a job?
In certain aspects, I actually do believe that representation needs to actually be properly supported. So we do find that there's pockets of issues. So in certain areas, we do find that in terms of strong mentorship, coaching, support, there are areas where we could do better. And this is where I think International Women's Forum of South Africa plays a leading role. There are other areas as well where, of course, we do believe that it's there's a big issue in terms of statistics and being transparent in terms of what we are genuinely reporting. And we also do believe that in certain areas, we do actually need just more awareness in terms of encouraging and showcasing rather what is actually out there. And actually bringing these sort of programs that we're leading with FACET to the fore and putting in the right support and frameworks. And then most importantly, if there's not the will for most of these corporates to actually, stop hiding behind, but we don't find enough black women or we don't find enough representation to actually fill these roles, we actually then play this leading role in terms of providing these highly skilled resources to start to then move away from that narrative of we cannot find the right resources.
The technology sector, and you point to the technology sector, the sector that you're from, here, but I think around the world has had huge issues with diversity, and particularly around gender. What's different about the technology sector? Why is it like that? And you see it in all sorts of different parts of the technology sector as well.
Absolutely. And again, I come back to my previous point, Stephen, just around political will, for us to start to go out and for me, especially being a person of color, I think representation matters to me. So having that right access to mentorship, having the right access to coaching, having access to a formidable group of women who are quite powerful that I can tap into and actually start to shout out some of the gaps in terms of the different sectors, because again, policy is often there that encourages excos and boards to discuss these matters, and often, regardless of the sector you look at, Stephen, when we do, lean into the different social and ethics committees or various other subcommittees of the board, we find out that for many CEOs and chairmen of boards, their top priority is indeed diversifying and ensuring inclusivity. So then we have to ask the question, then why is that not happening? And again, first and foremost for me is always political will. And then I think secondly, that's backed up quite importantly by ensuring that there is that collaboration and partnership with other industry bodies, with different associations, and also most importantly, a much better access to some of the training and education that is made available, and then that gives us that opportunity to address a more holistic approach rather than, a sort of piecemeal approach. I think that starts to contribute to addressing the broader issue.
There's plenty of evidence that when it comes to companies, a leadership group of a company that is diverse will make better decisions, particularly for a diverse group of customers, as you have in South Africa, than a company that is not diverse. What I'm trying to get to is, companies that don't have diverse leaderships and diversity within their leaderships are probably going to make more mistakes. It's bad economically for them.
Spot on. And again, if I can maybe just give a very solid example. So we as International Women's Forum of South Africa were quite fortunate. We were approached by Ms. Ayanda Mafuleko, who is the CEO of the Facet Association, and she came to us and said, I'm quite interested as a black woman who has gone through quite a lot of struggle to ensure that, I am at the forefront of the financial sector. I am keen to ensure that the younger generation and those who are coming after me don't go through the similar challenges and struggles that I did. So what I would like to do, I would actually like to offer a sort of partnership and collaboration fund where over the next 3 years, we train 960 women in the financial sector. And also, if International Women's Forum of South Africa is able then to coach and mentor these women and tap into their highly prestigious network, where they're able to ensure that they prepare a lot of women for the challenges that they may stumble across in the world of work. And we actually partnered with Due Corporate Education as our training partner. Again, Stephen, I think the exciting thing is that all of these entities are headed by black, powerful, committed, bold women of color who would wake up and actually start to tap into different organizations and associations and say, since we are sitting with this challenge, how about we do something about it? And this was the offer that was placed on the table for us. And actually, it's brilliant. We're actually looking at an executive development program and a middle management program. Both of them actually have immersion and sort of benchmark and real-life practical sort of studies. For the executive development program, it's in Singapore. For the middle management program, it's in a continent, in a country somewhere on the continent. So again, I think to your point, when you actually are diverse, you're inclusive, you're bold, you're excited about ensuring that where there are gaps and there are lags, you're going to make these type of bold commitments to train 960 women over the next 3 years to open up and diversify the financial sector. And I think that is absolutely outstanding.
Charmaine Houvet, thank you. Chair of the Leadership Committee of the International Women's Forum of South Africa. Do appreciate it.